From the heart of the Space City to the heart of Gen Z, welcome to Next Gen Conversation. Not Dad's Talk Radio. Ethan talks to you about the issues and events that matter to our generation. This is the Next Gen Report with Ethan Buchanan.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Next Gen Report. Gosh, we got so much to talk about today. There's never slow news days. Have y'all noticed that? It used to be kind of, we had news cycles. Like there were days and months and portions of the year where like that was when all the heavy hitting news was. But now it's just all the time, constantly. There's no break or pause or anything. There was no like post-election slowdown, which is what there usually is in this industry. It's just been constant. Go, 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 go. So, I mean, it's good. It keeps me in business. Hell, I won't complain. But it's just something to take note of. It's just interesting to me. I caught wind of that. I kind of felt that. Wanted to share that with you. All right, what do we want to start with today? Football season's going on. I'm already getting excited for the Super Bowl because I'm a Cowboys fan and this is our year. No, not really. It's never our year. It never will be our year. We will not be playing in this Super Bowl, but I hope we are. Regardless of who's playing the Super Bowl, because obviously we don't know that, we do know who the halftime performer is going to be. It's going to be Bad Bunny. Now, let me just say this right now. Nobody actually cares. Nobody cares. Anyone who's sitting here going, oh, I can't believe they were going to book Bad Bunny for the Super Bowl. This used to be America. Blah, blah. You weren't going to watch the halftime show anyway. So don't sit here and pretend that you were. No, they stole nothing for you. That's just a bad choice that they were going to make anyway. The fact of the matter is there's very few actually good musical artists in the world today. And those that are still out there are not going to get the Super Bowl. All right? Because what they're concerned about is just clicks. They just want the clicks. That's it. That's all they care about. So even if there was just like a really good person that definitely should have gotten it, they're not going to get it. So it's no great loss. Nobody actually cares about the halftime show. Just like most people really don't even care about the Super Bowl anymore. We've kind of gotten to the point where if your team's not in the Super Bowl, a lot of people just don't watch it. I watched it just because I wanted to see the Kansas City Chiefs lose this last time around. I hate watched the Super Bowl. I had to root for the Eagles, which as a Cowboys fan was very difficult for me. But anyway, the only reason I bring up Bad Bunny is because Bad Bunny has previously, he's a Latin artist. He's from like Puerto Rico or whatever. He has made a very specific point about not doing any shows in the U.S. while Donald Trump is president because this is his claim, is worried about ICE arresting all of his concert attendees if he does shows in the U.S. I mean, whatever. Go bananas, guy. Who cares? But then the moment the Super Bowl calls, all of a sudden that's not a concern anymore. So what happened? You canceled an entire U.S. tour because you were mad about the president. But then the moment the NFL calls, all of a sudden you're not that worried about it anymore. Well, to that end, Kristi Noem has said, yeah, we are going to have an ICE presence at the Super Bowl. I don't care. I wasn't going anyway. But here is now the ladies of The View responding to this. They are of the opinion that since ICE is going to be at the Super Bowl trying to arrest illegal aliens, everybody going to the Super Bowl should do their best to look like illegal aliens so that ICE doesn't get anything done. I'm not kidding. This is the actual statement that they made. Take a listen to this.
She's threatening to go to the Super Bowl when Bad Bunny is there and round up all these people that are illegal immigrants. Do you think that she would go if it was Garth Brooks or Eminem or Taylor Swift or any other white person?
Let me understand what you're saying because...
Okay, it's worth asking here. How many illegal aliens exactly do you think are going to a Garth Brooks concert? Just run those numbers while I let these stupid women keep talking.
She's going to go to the Super Bowl and round up. How's she going to know who's who?
Because the Supreme Court has given permission to question anyone who has a Spanish accent, who has a dark skin.
Yeah. So
That's why.
Here's the thing. everybody get a little cocoa butter, sit in the sun. That's the first thing. and this is the only time you can probably ever do this, give yourself a Latin accent.
You know, Whoopi, that is such a good idea.
You know, Whoopi, that is such a good idea. Joy Behar is the reason I hate the Northeast, that kind of New York accent so much. Everyone sounds like Joy Behar to me who talks like that. So if you have that accent, no, that's what I'm picturing in my mind when you're talking to me. But anyway, how are they going to know? How are they going to know who the illegal alien? Really? Let's be honest. You really don't think we can kind of sniff it out? Come on, let's be honest with ourselves here. And on top of that, it's not that difficult to identify when someone is not a U.S. citizen. Again, your driver's license has this information on it. If you have an up-to-date driver's license, it'll say whether or not you're a U.S. citizen. My Texas driver's license has it. It's called Real ID. It's the national standard. Everybody has this. If you don't, go get it updated, because you probably are going to have a hard time flying if you don't have an updated driver's license with Real ID. So why are we sitting here pretending this is some great mystery? It's not. We know who the illegal aliens are. Now, is this probably performative on Kristi Noem's part? Probably, yeah. Because how many illegal aliens do you think have the money to shell out $500,000 or whatever a Super Bowl ticket costs these days? Probably not very many, if any. But at the same point, it's even more ridiculous for the ladies of The View to say, hey, everybody try and look as much like an illegal alien as possible when you go to the Super Bowl. It's just silly. And that's what the left is. They're just silly people. They're not worthy of being taken seriously, especially on the issue of illegal immigration, because it's not as complicated as they want you to believe it is. They're trying to make it out like it's impossible to solve this problem when it's not. It's actually really easy, and we're doing it right now. So cry about it, Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and all you other stupid women on that show. All right, listen, we got a great show coming up, a lot going on. I don't even want to give any spoilers. Just stay tuned. We got a quick ad break, and we'll be right back with more on the Next Gen Report. It just kind of occurred to me how horrible my posture usually is when I'm recording this show. I just kind of started noticing that. I need to work on that. I need to work on my posture. If you see me in person and I'm slouching, stop me. Say something about it. If you see something, say something. And by something, I mean me slouching. Welcome back to another segment of the Next Gen Report. Thank you for joining me. I want to real quick specify that when I referred to the ladies of The View as stupid women, and I'm trying to get out ahead of the canceling. That's what this is. I'm not saying they're stupid because they're women. I'm not saying that all women are stupid. I have great respect for a lot of women. All right? I'm married to a woman. I love women. However, the ladies of The View are stupid, and they happen to be women. Those two things are not connected at all. Causation and correlation, it's different, it's separate, all right? They just happen to be women, and they happen to be stupid. That's all I was saying, all right? Please don't cancel me. All right, anyway, staying on the topic of immigration. So let's do a quick rewind. We've obviously had Portland, Oregon, Chicago, Illinois have been the kind of focal points of the immigration enforcement for the Trump administration in recent weeks and months, right? We were all aware of this. We're all aware of everything going on there, right? We've got the big protests, the riot, the clashes between Antifa and the ICE agents and federal law enforcement and la-di-da-di-da. We're all up to date on that, right? If you're not, go back and listen to previous episodes of the show. I don't have time to rehash all of it. All right. So that's where we're at. The Trump administration says, okay, this is getting out of hand. This is ridiculous. We have to enforce the law. And we can't have our federal law enforcement agents constantly getting attacked by ridiculous left-wing rioters in the city of Portland. So what does he do? He says, okay, we're going to call in the National Guard, Oregon National Guard. I'm federalizing you. I'm deploying you to help defend the folks, the federal law enforcement agencies in Portland, Oregon. The reason he had to do that is because other law enforcement agencies in the state are not helping, right? I believe Oregon is a sanctuary state. I know Portland is a sanctuary city. So they're hands off. They're letting these Antifa rioters go nuts on ICE agents. That's a problem. We can't have that in this country. We just can't. The laws need to be enforced. All right? So his solution is deploy the National Guard. And then, of course, a federal district judge decides to say no. Because why the hell not? So here's the headline. Federal judge blocks Portland National Guard deployment. So this is a deployment of the National Guard, of the Oregon National Guard to Portland, Oregon that has been blocked. A federal district court issued a temporary restraining order yesterday blocking the Trump administration from deploying around 200 National Guardsmen to the city of Portland. All right, cool. That's where we're at. Great. Everybody's on the same page. So what is the response? Well, Texas is looking at this and saying, okay, well, you can't deploy the Oregon National Guard. Just take ours. Because remember, our National Guard has been busy, and they're more than happy to stay busy. We've had them up on the border. We've had them doing just about everything for years. So, hell, take 400 of them, go up to Portland. Here is Greg Abbott tossing out that idea. And this, by the way, has already happened. We've got Texas National Guard on the ground now in Portland, supporting federal law enforcement. They came in and they helped us on the border once Trump got into office. We've been doing their job on the border for 3 years now. Now we'll provide them more backup in Portland. Here's Governor Hot Wheels himself making that announcement.
National Guard, our elite National Guard in the state of Texas, began their deployment as they were loading on planes in Texas, boarding for flights to parts of the country where they will be able to safeguard ICE officials and other federal officials as they try to enforce the laws of the United States of America.
You know,
I'm happy about this. This is good. We should be backing up our federal law enforcement. We, as the state of Texas, who do have a vested interest in making sure the entire world knows you cannot come here illegally, because most of the time when people come here illegally, they come through Texas. We have a vested interest in making sure every single person on the face of this planet knows that is not allowed. You are not allowed to do it. Don't even try. So this is in the interest of the state of Texas and the national interest. Now, of course, the left is all fire mad about this. Here is CNN talking with Stephen Miller and complaining about the fact that now the Texas National Guard has been sent to Portland to help enforce the law there. Take a listen.
If a Democratic president someday calls the National Guard to a red state over what they see as open rebellion, but is what amounts to a demonstration that gets rowdy. I mean, is that not a
and
fear
they're
of
posting
yours?
pictures of their kids because it's a demonstration, and they have a sniper on top of a building firing a high-caliber rifle at a nice facility because it's a demonstration, and they are engaging in vehicle ramming
But the
attacks,
National Guard isn't
coordinated
being
ramming
sent to
attacks
Texas.
because it's a
The National Guard
demonstration.
isn't being sent to Dallas, where that sniper was.
Because the Dallas Police Department and the governor of Texas, well, you walked right into that one, have responded to every call for assistance and help. They gave a stand-down order in Chicago, and they gave a stand-down order in Portland. Do you realize that there's 11,000 federal law enforcement officers in Oregon? That's larger than the size of the FBI. Local and state police are resourced to deal with this kind of riotous assembly, but they have refused. They've been given a stand-down order. So
They've
we
arrested
need
some
to use
70
National
people
Guard and
since
federal
June.
troops
They've been
to fill
arresting
in
folks
that
on the
breach.
ground. They've been arresting folks on the ground. They refute
haven't
what you're
touched-
saying outright.
We literally have the 911 audio of this stand-down order in Chicago, and we have documented inside of DHS every single unresponded to 911 call over the recent weeks and months.
And so this CNN guy is basically trying to refute Stephen Miller, saying, "Oh no, they've been helping. They arrested 70 people." Yeah, there's hundreds of these radical rioters. They've arrested a fraction of a fraction. And yeah, like he pointed out, in Texas, we're enforcing the law. Even in blue cities like Dallas, we are enforcing the law. Versus in Chicago, they have a stand-down order. Miller wasn't making that up. Here's a stand-down order. The Chicago Fraternal Order of Police has issued a no-confidence vote for the supervisor who allegedly told officers not to respond to a shooting involving federal agents over the weekend. I told y'all about this on the Sunday show. We had, in Chicago, a couple of, frankly, criminals, I don't know even what to call this, short of insurgents, who rammed their vehicles into an ICE vehicle, boxed them in, and ambushed them literally with an automatic weapon. And when they called for backup, when they called for help, those federal agents, the Chicago Police Department said no. That's why you get the National Guard. That's why, which is what Stephen Miller was pointing out there. And they should get the National Guard. Again, I cannot stress this enough. We need to have every level of law enforcement supporting every other level. Otherwise, the system collapses. If you have what they want in Chicago, which is ICE-free zones, what you end up getting, sorry, I'm starting over my words. What you end up getting is what we've seen in sanctuary cities, massively high crime. And then when we go in to clean that up, it's infinitely harder. We have to get some of the difficult, kind of harsh on the eyes scenes that we've had from law enforcement just trying to enforce law. We could just arrest these people and send them back the moment they get here. But no, instead we let them embed in our community. So it's even harder to uproot them. Cancer is a good analogy here. It's a lot easier to deal with a stage 1 tumor than it is to deal with a stage 4 metastasized and spreading cancer. That's what we're dealing with here. This is a stage 4 metastasized and spreading cancer. We're going to get into more of this in the next segment because I got a lot more here that I don't have time for. But again, the left is all fire mad about this, but it is important. It has to be done. It's beyond critical. And thank God the Trump administration is doing it. I don't care how much the left hates it. We're going to keep doing it. So, hey, stay tuned. We got a lot more on this. We'll be right back with another segment of the Next Gen Report in just a quick minute. Alrighty, welcome back. So I mentioned in the last segment that Chicago was trying to do ICE-free zones. And I wasn't kidding. I wasn't making that up. They're literally trying to say, here's parts of the city where federal law enforcement, who, by the way, by definition of being federal law enforcement, have jurisdiction over the entire United States. Here they are, or here he is, Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago, saying, no, we need ICE out of our city, and we're going to create these ICE-free zones in Chicago. Take a listen to this.
Today, we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids.
Yeah, let me know how that works out for you, buddy. But this just goes to show you how mad all of the left is that our laws are finally being enforced. This has been kind of funny. So here is Greg Abbott announcing the other day that he is deploying the Texas National Guard to go support ICE. We talked about this in the last segment. So here's what Gavin Newsom had to say about this. States cannot invade one another. This is so simple, so fundamental to America. I cannot believe that I have to type out those words. Okay, now, listen. in concept, he might be right. But this isn't the first time this has happened. And those of you who know me probably know where I'm going with this. Some of you might remember this little thing, little tidbit, little nugget in American history called the American Civil War, where states invaded one another. Let's not sit here and act like this is some unprecedented thing. These Republicans must be crazy because they're sending the National Guard to enforce federal law. First of all, we've done this a number of times, namely throughout the 60s during the Civil Rights Movement, when you'd have Jim Crow states resisting the Civil Rights Act, and federal law enforcement, the U.S. Marshals, and even the National Guard would come in and force schools at gunpoint to do things like integrate. So let's not sit here and pretend that this is some radical right-wing extremist thing. This is literally just Greg Abbott saying, you're attacking law enforcement, literally attacking. We're going to support the federal law enforcement because part of the duties of the states is to support each other and support the federal government. Just like the duty of the federal government is to support and defend the states. It's supposed to be symbiotic. So when the federal government needs help enforcing righteous law, duly passed and signed immigration laws, we help out with that when we can, and we can here. Hillary Clinton, of course, also had to weigh in on this. Here's J.B. Pritzker. He posted his message complaining about all this. This evening, President Trump is ordering 400 members of the Texas National Guard for deployment to Illinois, Oregon, and other locations in the United States. No officials from the federal government called me directly to discuss or coordinate. Yeah, because we're not interested in trying to convince you to help us anymore. You've made your point clear. Now we're going to do what we have to do, whether you like it or not. And he calls on Greg Abbott to stop it. If states' rights means anything, they must include the right to not get invaded by another state in peacetime. This is right out of the mouth of Jefferson Davis. But yet it's Hillary Clinton that said this. If I said states' rights means anything, they must include the right to not be invaded by another state in peacetime, you would have thought, oh, interesting. Which Confederate figure said that? None of them. Hillary Rodham Clinton. You got to be kidding me. You can't make this stuff up. Anyway, let's get on to the real topic of this segment, which is Jay Jones. This guy has gotten himself in some pretty serious trouble. Jay Jones, if you don't know, because why would you? He's the Democrat candidate for Virginia's Attorney General. And he got in some hot water about some pretty nasty things that he said about the Republican Speaker of the House in Virginia. So rather than tell you what he said, let me just read it to you and let me show you. So here is Jay Jones in some private text messages. Hence the glowing tributes from the R's. Damn, that was for Mark. Sorry, Charlie, no worries. Talking about Joe Johnson. A D, but basically a R. Leaked everything to your caucus. It's why Gilbert gave him such a glowing tribute. I knew what you were talking about. Served with my dad, who had nice words with a little choice sprinkled in. I didn't look at that. I just saw your guy died and assumed you'd have words. He was a D. All right, here's where things get interesting. They say nice things about everyone, lol. If those guys die before me, I will go to their funerals to piss on their graves. He's talking about just people he disagrees with in politics. Send them out awash in something. And then whoever he was talking to said, Jay Jones. 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. And this guy says, Jay, please stop. Jay says, lol, okay. It really bothers me when you talk about hurting people or wishing death on them. It gets worse. You weren't simply asking questions and you know it. I genuinely was. I wasn't attacking you. I was just trying to understand your logic. You weren't trying to understand. You were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. Yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. So here's Jay Jones openly saying, I hope this lady who I disagree with, I hope her kids die so that she'll vote differently. And then, of course, earlier he was talking about shooting her in the head. I mean, I do think Todd and Jennifer are evil. and that they're breeding little fascists. Yes. This guy's running for Attorney General of the state of Virginia. And these are the things that he's saying about people he disagrees with. If a Republican said this, it would be the only headline. But because a Democrat said this, they're trying to bury it. They're trying to bury it. They really are. The only people calling this out right now are the Republicans. That's it. Here's Winsome Sears. She's the Republican nominee for governor. Here she is calling out Jay Jones and saying, hey guys, this is crazy.
The calls for hate and violence are coming from the mouths of the Democrat Party's leaders. And Jay Jones is just the most recent, and his wish for violent acts the most clear. So if you can't solve a problem, you can't name it, but I will. And here and now, the leadership of the Democrat Party has become consumed with hate.
And she's exactly right. This is why I'm so sick of all the both sidesism that we've seen on political violence, because everybody can acknowledge the fact that, yeah, political violence is getting worse. And only the right will say it's because of the left. The left keeps trying to do this both sides business. Oh, everybody does political violence. It's the right too, and they'll cherry pick cases of people that happen to be right-wingers and did violence. But in all of those cases that they always point out, in all of the instances of people on the right doing violence, the right openly says, this is bad, we cast this person out. But when the left does political violence, absolutely no one on the left does anything about it. I'm not even kidding. You would think that this guy would be blasted up and down by everyone for what he said, because it's vile and evil. But no, he has not been forced to drop out of the race. He hasn't even lost his endorsement. In fact, Blue Virginia, the Democrats in Virginia, have doubled down on their endorsement of him. This is what they posted. The Virginia Beach Democratic Committee, with full support for Jay Jones for Attorney General, we are lined up, ready to organize, mobilize, and deliver voters for Jay and our entire Democratic ticket. If you notice me pause there, it's for two reasons. One, the text they printed this in was really small and it's blurry on my screen. And two, I honestly can't believe what I'm reading. The Democrat establishment is fully endorsing this. They're tut-tutting him. They're saying, oh no, his words are mean. He should not have said that. That was very bad. But not a single one has called for him to step out of the race. Not a single person on the Democrat side has revoked their endorsement of him. Everybody on the left seems completely fine with this guy. They'll go out and they'll say the platitudes. They'll say, oh no, he shouldn't have said that. But nobody is actually walking back an endorsement of this guy. Nobody on the left has called for him to drop out. Nobody. Not one. He has not lost one endorsement. Not one Democrat has told him to step down. They've done the opposite. They've doubled down. They're saying, no, we still support this guy. We don't like what he said. We don't like the fact that he called for kids to get shot in the head because they might disagree with him when they grow up. But he should still be the Attorney General for the state of Virginia. This is insane. We're going to talk about this a lot more. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more on the Next Gen Report. All right, so I mentioned that this Jay Jones character has not lost a single endorsement, and I'm not kidding. I'm Ethan Buchanan. Welcome back to the Next Gen Report. Real quick, before we keep going, give me a follow on X @_Ethan Buchanan. All right, so Jay Jones has not lost a single endorsement. As a matter of fact, folks are doubling down. You'd think even the people at the top of the ticket, right? The really important folks, maybe even they would try to distance themselves a little bit. No, not at all. Abigail Spanberger, she's the Democrat nominee for governor of Virginia in this cycle. She also has doubled down on her support for Jay Jones, who is technically her running mate. That's how it works there. The attorney general is technically the running mate of whoever the gubernatorial candidate is. So here is Abigail Spanberger. Well, this is Fox talking about Abigail Spanberger not rescinding her endorsement of Jay Jones, who, if you were listening in the first segment, was literally saying, I hope this lady's children die because she disagrees with me. I want to shoot her in the head because she disagrees with me. I'm not kidding. These were the things that were said. Take a listen to what Abigail Spanberger, who is the Democrat running for governor of Virginia, had to say about all of that.
In terms of what Abigail Spanberger has said, she said the following, quote, I made clear to Jay that he must fully take responsibility for his words. What I've also made clear is that as a candidate and the next governor of our Commonwealth, I will always condemn violent language in our politics. But she didn't say get the you-know-what out of the race.
That's a whole lot of saying a lot of words to say absolutely nothing.
Yes.
And I think Jay Jones, I don't just think he should drop out of the race. I think he needs a psych evaluation because someone who wants to see their political opponent's children die has some very scary brain rot. And this has shifted from being just about Jay Jones to, as you said and as Megan said, an indictment of every Democrat who refuses to call on him to drop out. Because if you refuse to call him to drop out and refuse to even drop your endorsement, you are endorsing what he has said. And I think this is going to hound Democrats in Virginia all the way through November.
Yeah, and he's exactly right. That's Matt Whitlock right there. He's exactly right on everything that he said. You are endorsing this. Like, you can say, oh, no, I don't encourage his actions. He needs to take responsibility. Okay, here's what taking responsibility looks like. It looks like saying, yeah, that's right. I shouldn't have said that. I'm probably a bad person. I'm not going to keep running. That's what taking responsibility would be. He hasn't done that. He's gone and issued some half-assed apology, but he hasn't said, I'm going to step down. I'm going to step away. I'm going to think about my actions. He's just said, oops, my bad. You can't just oopsie-daisy this. This is the exact type of political violence that the left has been pretending since Charlie Kirk was shot that they absolutely hate and will not accept at all. But it turns out they will accept it if they think the race is important enough. Then it's fine. If they think the person that's openly endorsing political violence is running for an important enough position in an important enough election, then it's fine. It's fine to do political violence. It's fine to text people about how much you want children to die and political opponents to be shot in the head. I mean, this is why you've got so many Republicans and conservatives and even moderates right now that are looking at what's going on in politics and thinking, oh my God, these people hate me and want me to die. That's where we're at right now. That's where so many people on the right are. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm sure I'm to the right of whatever Virginia official Jay Jones was talking about. Does he want me to die? Does he want me to get shot in the head? If I had children, would he want my children to die? What about my wife? How does the left feel about her? And we're supposed to share a country with these people? We're supposed to turn down the political temperature? No, you won't even call him to drop out of the race. So forgive me if I don't take you seriously when you swear up and down that you want the political rhetoric to be toned down. I don't freaking believe you. Because when this guy says he wants children to die and their parents to be killed, you don't even call on him to drop out. You don't even pull your endorsement of him. You won't do the bare minimum here. So I just don't believe you. I just don't. The only people that are even moderately on the left that I could find calling this guy out is one guy on Morning Joe on MSNBC who said he should probably drop out. Here it is. Here's the one instance of someone that I think is to the left of me even a little bit, calling out Jay Jones and saying you should drop out.
Coming up, an attorney general candidate in Virginia is apologizing for his texts about a state lawmaker. We'll go through what the messages said.
Probably be forced to withdraw from the race, and probably.
And she goes, okay, yeah. That's his co-host going, okay. I don't know about all that. That's the only guy who said he should probably be forced to withdraw from the race on the left. That's it. That's the only one. And I've been looking. That's the only guy. And the moment he says it, his co-host, who's to his right. I was about to say quite literally to his left, but then I realized it's flipped. But his co-host immediately goes, okay. Okay.
He's doing a lot there.
All right, Morning Joe will be right back.
He says he probably should drop out, and the probably is doing a lot there. And she goes, okay, we'll be right back. Get out of it. We're going to talk about it. We're not going to call on him to actually take any action. You got to be kidding me. And then you wonder, why are we sending the National Guard into Portland or Chicago? Because if this is how they feel about the politicians, you expect me to believe they feel any differently about the ICE officers that are actually carrying out the laws that these people are going in and voting for? I mean, again, we've already seen Chicago is okay with open attacks on law enforcement. Because when it happened, when somebody pulled a gun on ICE officers that they had boxed in with their cars, Chicago PD said, don't worry about it. And then when a prominent figure in the Democrat Party, this guy's running for one of the highest positions in the entire state of Virginia, which I don't know if you're familiar with the history of the entire United States, but Virginia is a pretty important state. So just by virtue of being at the top of the ticket, or towards the top of the ticket, in that incredibly important state, this guy is a national figure. He is. And he's sitting there saying, oh, no, these people should all die because they disagree with me and their children are little fascists. I want to piss on their graves. And not a single person on the left, except for this one guy on MSNBC, that's the only one, will call for him to drop out. And we're expected to share a country with these people. We're expected to tone down the rhetoric. No, screw you. You hate me and you want me to die. You're saying it openly. None of you have outright rejected this guy, which is exactly what would happen on the right. There is no instance of a right-wing figure saying, I want my political opponents to be killed, and then him being accepted in mainstream Republican circles. It doesn't exist. It's never happened. It never will. And I can't get over this. Because, I am concerned about where this leads as a country. I am concerned about what happens next. I am sitting here wondering, how do I share a country with these people who clearly hate me? Not just me, my values and my family as well. Clearly, that's where the left is at. They hate you, they hate your values, they hate your family. They would rather see you dead than disagree with them. And this has become accepted. And there was a case to be made when it happened to Charlie Kirk, and we had all these crazy leftists on the internet and at these protests going, oh, no, I support it. I would have killed Charlie Kirk myself. And the left said, oh, no, these are just the radicals. These are just the crazy people. We don't associate with them. But then when an actual top-of-the-ticket character says the same things, they don't disassociate. They poo-poo what he said, and then they let him keep his endorsements. They let him keep his position at the top of the ticket. So no, don't give me both sides BS. Don't tell me you want to tone down the rhetoric and be peaceable. I don't believe you. Put your money where your mouth is. Call on this guy to drop out. As long as he's in the race and has these endorsements, I don't believe you. I just don't, and I never will. All right, that's all I've got. Stay tuned. Sunday evening, 7 p.m. on AM 950 KPRC. We'll be back. And, of course, the podcast and the YouTube, you know where to find me, @_Ethan Buchanan on X. Thank you very much for listening.